The UK budget has just dropped one of the most silent but powerful shocks to the British housing market, and most headlines completely missed what really changed. What I'm about to break down affects every buyer, every landlord, and anyone planning to move in the next few years. My insight comes from constantly tracking on-ground UK property data, deals slowing down, buyers delaying decisions, and then suddenly rushing back after the budget. But don't mistake this temporary activity as market recovery. What's happening now is simply months of delayed buyers suddenly flooding back at once. The underlying fundamentals of the UK housing market are still under intense pressure. The first major blow from the 2025 budget is the introduction of the new mansion tax. On paper, it looks harmless, a charge on properties worth $2 million and above. The government claims only around 165,000 homes will be affected, less than 1% of the total housing stock. But here's the truth they won't say out loud. The 2 million threshold will not rise with inflation, but the tax amount will. This means the number of homes affected will grow every single year as house prices rise, even if prices only rise with inflation. Exactly the same way Rishi Sunak's frozen income tax bans pushed millions into higher tax brackets. Back in 2021, only 11% of people paid higher rate income tax. By 2027, it will be 14%. By 2031, almost 25% of the country. The same stealth tax mechanism is now built into the mansion tax. Today, it targets the wealthy. In 10 years, it quietly becomes a tax on thousands more households as prices creep upward. And it doesn't stop there. Once a framework is created, governments can adjust the thresholds anytime they want. That means a future chancellor can drop the tax line from $2 million to $1.5 million to $1 million. This is exactly what happened with stamp duty. When Labour introduced higher stamp duty bans in 1997, stamp duty raised only $675 million a year. Within a decade, it was raising $10 billion, not because people suddenly bought more expensive homes, but because the thresholds never moved while prices soared. The same trap is now being built into the mansion tax system, a long-term revenue machine disguised as a tax on the rich. And this leads straight into the second blow coming from this budget. A tax rise that hits landlords directly in a way we haven't seen since Section 24. Starting April 2027, landlords will enter a fully separate tax system, with rental profits taxed at higher rates than normal income. Basic rate jumps from 20% to 22%. Higher rate from 40% to 42%. Additional rate from 45% to 47%. This creates a new era, where rental income becomes one of the easiest tax taps for the government to open. And the Treasury even predicts landlords will start incorporating into limited companies again, exactly like the Section 24 era. Landlords leaving, rents rising, fewer homes to rent, and more pressure on tenants. The cycle repeats, and all of this is only the beginning. Now, let's go deeper into the second major impact of the budget, the landlord tax overhaul, because this change will reshape the rental market more than people realize. The government is creating an entirely separate tax system for landlords. And make no mistake, this is a targeted pressure strategy. The costings document reveals everything. Rental profits will be taxed higher than normal income. This means a landlord earning $15,000 of annual rental profit won't pay 20% anymore. They'll pay 22%. A landlord earning $40,000 in rental profit won't pay 40%. They'll pay 42%. And top-rate landlords face a 47% rate. This is the largest tax jump on landlords since the day Section 24 was introduced. But the real shock comes from the government's expectations. In the Policy Costings PDF, the Treasury openly predicts landlords will incorporate to escape the higher tax. And when tens of thousands of landlords incorporate, guess what happens? They enter a playfield dominated by institutions. The big players who already operate through companies and enjoy corporation tax advantages. This is how you slowly shift property ownership away from individuals and toward corporate portfolios. But let's talk numbers, because the numbers reveal the plan. In the first year, this tax change raises only $5 million. But once the system fully kicks in, revenue jumps to $590 million a year, then settles at around $435 million every year going forward. That is not an accidental change. That's a permanent long-term revenue strategy. Combine that with frozen income tax thresholds until 2031, and you have landlords losing more net income every single year, even if their rents rise. Fiscal drag squeezes landlords from one side, while rising mortgage costs squeeze them from the other. And then comes the third blow, stamp duty. The government didn't mention it once in the budget speech, but that silence is exactly how stealth taxes work. Stamp duty thresholds are still frozen, meaning they don't rise with inflation. But house prices do. That means more homes fall into higher stamp duty bands every year. Buyers pay more tax even though the official stamp duty rates never changed. This happened from 2000 to 2020. Stamp duty receipts exploded without any dramatic rate hikes because inflation did the job. Now we're repeating the same cycle. And what makes this even more unbalanced is that the government is offering selective stamp duty relief to listed companies and securities, but not to normal home buyers. Institutions get a discount, families do not. Investors get a smoother ride, first-time buyers do not. This is how the market naturally drifts toward institutional ownership. Quietly, gradually, and budgets like this accelerate the shift. Now we reach the fourth and biggest structural shift in the entire budget: the freeze on personal allowances and higher rate thresholds until April 2031. This single policy affects almost every household in the UK. Because when wages rise, but tax thresholds don't move, more of your income gets taxed at higher rates. Even when you think you're earning more, your take-home income shrinks. And what happens when your take-home pay drops in real terms? Your mortgage affordability drops. That means buyers can borrow less, which means they offer less on homes, which puts downward pressure on house prices. This isn't theory. This is exactly how fiscal drag has pushed millions into higher tax bands without any official tax rise. It's the quietest and most effective form of taxation the government uses. Put all four blows together, and here's the full picture of the UK property market over the next 12 to 24 months. A mansion tax system that will expand automatically over time. A new high-rate tax band exclusively for landlords. Stamp duty thresholds frozen, pushing more homes into higher tax categories. Personal allowances frozen until 2031, shrinking net income for millions. Landlords being pushed toward incorporation or out of the market entirely. Institutional investors becoming the long-term winners. This budget does not just tweak a few tax lines. It redesigns the future of UK property ownership. The shift is slow but unmistakable. From individual ownership toward corporate and institutional ownership, small landlords exit. Renters face higher rents. Buyers face reduced affordability. Institutions grow their portfolios. This is the largest structural shift in UK property since the late 1990s. And the next 12 to 24 months are absolutely crucial for anyone planning to buy, sell, invest, or move home. The rules of the game have officially changed. This is the part nobody wants to talk about. But it's the part everyone needs to hear. For months, analysts have been split into two groups. One side insists the UK market is stabilizing. The other says a deeper correction is coming. But when you study the data that sits behind the headlines, a clear pattern is emerging. And it's far more serious than the public realizes. Let's start with affordability. Wages have increased slightly, yes, but not enough to balance the pressure created by higher mortgage costs. Even with mortgage rates slowly dipping from their 2023 peak, the average UK household still cannot comfortably manage the payments required to buy an ordinary home. Affordability hasn't improved. It has simply stopped getting worse. But not getting worse doesn't mean getting better. This leads to the next major signal: buyer hesitation. Estate agents report that buyers now view a property 3, 4, even 5 times before making an offer. Some disappear for weeks, then return asking for a discount. Others back out at the last moment. This behavior shows one thing: people are afraid of overpaying. And then there's the growing problem of overvalued listings. Many sellers are still pricing their homes based on 2022 conditions, the peak of cheap mortgages. But today's buyers are calculating everything based on higher monthly costs. That gap between seller expectations and buyer reality is getting wider, and it's putting the entire market into slow motion. Now let's talk about the rental side. Rents across major cities have reached levels that tenants simply cannot stretch past anymore. Landlords leaving the market has reduced supply, but at the same time, tenant budgets have hit the limit. This means rents cannot keep rising forever. And in several areas, we've already seen the early signs of rental stagnation. This is important because a slowing rental market usually hits investor confidence, which then affects the sales market even further. Next, we need to look at something rarely discussed: the remortgaging cliff. Thousands of homeowners who locked in ultra-low rates years ago are coming to the end of their deals. When they remortgage, their monthly payments jump massively, sometimes by $400, $600, or even $900 per month. Most will manage, some will struggle, but a small percentage won't be able to cope. And when these pressured homeowners list their properties for sale, they do it fast. And they do it at lower prices. This creates downward pressure that spreads outward into the entire local market. All these factors combined, slow demand, overpricing, hesitant buyers, strained landlords, and the remortgage wave, are building up to what many analysts call a long correction phase. Not a crash, but a slow-moving realignment where prices adjust to match what people can actually afford. And here's the truth your audience needs to hear. The market we'll see in 2025 will not look like the market we had in 2021 or 2022. Those days are gone. The new market will be more selective, more cautious, and far less forgiving. Only realistic prices will sell. Only strong rental yields will work. Only motivated buyers will take action. For homeowners and investors, this is the time to reevaluate strategy. For first-time buyers, patience may finally pay off. For sellers who need to move, honesty about pricing will make the difference between months of waiting and actually getting a sale. But the biggest question remains, is this the bottom, or is there more pain to come? Right now, no one can answer that with 100% certainty. But the direction is clear. The UK housing market is entering a new chapter, slower, tougher, and more realistic. And those who understand it early will make the smartest choices. This is UK Property Update, keeping you ahead of the curve, helping you understand the truth behind the headlines, and preparing you for a market that is finally waking up from years of unsustainable growth.